Hey everybody, Meg here. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. Today I am showing you how I gave this vintage dresser a new look and a new makeover. Now, I took out all of the paper. It was old wallpaper in each drawers, and each drawer was really clean, great structure, and in great condition. I took off the hardware, which were these metal angel handles, and they were really odd how they were put on. It was wire pinned at the back. I had so much difficulty getting them off. I did manage to take them all off and put them aside, but they were so hard to get off, and I had hurt my fingers a couple of times. While I was doing that, I noticed that there was a label inside 1986 Toronto, Canada. So that was kind of cool. So it's not too old, but it was cool to see the stamp. So here's a close-up of those handles. Metal angels, but those handles were not going to go with the look that I was going for. So I sanded the top with 80 grit sanding disc, and yes, you'll probably notice they are too big for the sander, but I still have not been able to go and get some sanding discs that actually fit this sander. So I do have large 80 grit discs that I need to use up, and they worked. So once that was done, I scuff sanded the entire piece and then cleaned with Crud Cutter, making sure I had gotten all of the lines and corners on this piece. I used a lint-free rag just to clean all of the leftover Crud Cutter off. Once that was done, I primed the piece and covered up the top with painter's plastic tape and primed about 2 coats of primer. And the primer that I'm using is Kiltz Restoration Primer. I'll put that in my description. And my sprayer is my Wagner Flexio 5000. I do have a video on my YouTube channel all about my Wagner Flexio 5000 sprayer. I sanded in between each coat of primer, and then I started to spray the paint color. This is Cottage Paint in Horned Owl. It's a beige color, and it's my first time using Cottage Paint, and I really liked it. It gave a really durable, smooth finish, and I sprayed about 2 coats of this color on as well. In between the paint colors, I also sanded with 1000 sanding grit block, sanding block. I find those are the best to sand with in between coats of paint and primer. And again, 2000 grit sanding block for top coat. So I already knew that I was going to be using this transfer, and it's called Country Love by Redesign by Prima. And I had already placed the top part on, and then I was placing the bottom part to show you. It can be difficult to go over lots of bumps, but this one seemed pretty flat and it was okay. I just needed to figure out where I wanted it. So make sure that you place it right flush against the line of the other one so that you have them lined up. Usually you can't peel them back like I just did, but luckily I hadn't pressed down on it. And then I cut along the line at the bottom of the drawer here. And then I placed the Country Love words back onto the white film. Then each transfer comes with a tool. It's a little wooden stick that you use to rub the transfer on. If the transfer comes up with the film, then just place it back and then keep rubbing again to make sure that it goes back on. Once I had gotten the transfer on, I went over all of the trim, and I get asked this all the time, what do I do when the drawers are in and I'm paint spraying? And that's what I do. I just pull the drawers out and then go over the trim and then clean it all up with some Windex. Now, I didn't like where the line was on the transfer, and so I used some of my paint to just blend in more of a sky around the line of the transfer. That way it looks more natural and blended into the rest of the paint color. And I did that for both sides and then the bottom as well. I also grabbed a rag and just sprayed a bit of water onto it so that it was wet, and then dabbed the water around the paint just to mix it in. And you can really play around with this and just see how it looks for you. I used the beige color that I had originally painted the piece in, and also a little bit of off-white, and another beige color as well. While that was drying, I then paint washed the top because I didn't want it turning orange when I top coated it. I do this all the time when I want a raw wood look. I spray the surface with water and then brush the paint on, and then spray more water, and then I use a rag just to wipe off the excess paint. Once everything was done, I realized at the very end, when I went to go and place the hardware, I realized that the hardware didn't fit. And I didn't have any other hardware to use, and the ones that I had picked, I really, really wanted. So what I did is I filled in the outside holes, like I did with that first one, and kept the inside one open. I just put a little bit of wood filler in the hole, and made it just a little bit bumpy on the top. Once it had dried, I sanded it with a sanding disc, very lightly, making sure that it was flat and that I couldn't feel the whole edge anymore. Once that was done, I went over it with my brush with some paint that I had been using to blend in the sky and around the lines. I then grabbed a rag and a little bit of water and just dabbed it in and made it natural like it had looked before. So this is what it looks like on each one of them, and I couldn't even tell. Next, I started to work on the rest of the transfer, and the second part of the transfer is this transfer here, and I wanted this on the top of the raw wood. So I put it into place, and then like before, I just rubbed the transfer on. If it comes up again with the film, just place it back down again and rub. So here we are just putting the new holes in for the hardware. And so this one is right beside the old one, but you can't see the old one. We did this with all of the drawers. And then I sprayed the top coat on. I brushed the varnish on this top because the wood was really soaking in, like absorbing the top coat from where I was spraying, and I couldn't see it, and so I decided to brush it on. I sanded in between top coats with the 2000 grit sanding block. This gave a really nice smooth finish. And I was able to see a slight sheen with the clear coat. I decided that I was going to do my second and third coat in Cottage Paint Varnish because I still was not getting the sheen that I wanted, the shine, with the clear coat, because I think the wood was still soaking it in. And I thought the first coat I could see a nice shine to it, but again, the wood is just so solid and porous that it just soaked it in. So what I did is I got the Satin varnish from Cottage Paint and I brushed it on this time. Still sanding in between coats, and this turned out really beautiful. I loved how it looked. I did 3 coats of the varnish, and I also brushed it around the bottom of the dresser as well. Now it's time to put the hardware on. This is the hardware I've chosen. I will put the link in my description. I absolutely love this hardware and I've ordered it quite a few times now for several pieces. I think it matched perfectly. So here's how it looked before, and here is how it looks now. I think it turned out beautiful. I love the transfer on the front, and I love the transfer on the top, the wood finish, and the beautiful color that it is. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like and comment. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you next Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Take care.